Cyntoia Brown, who at the time this picture was taken, was 16 years old. I'm going to ask you to do something that I know is hard for a lot of us to do, but for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask that you can put yourself in her shoes. A lot of us say that this is easy for us to do, but in actuality, it's sort of kind of hard. I mean, who wants to go, even if only in their head, to a less ideal situation? Who wants to go from a 5-bedroom house to living on the streets? Who wants to go from having a family at home to being all alone? And definitely who wants to go from being free to being incarcerated? But in order to view this case, you can't be objective. You have to be able to see yourself in her shoes. Cyntoia Brown was thrown in the foster care system when she was a toddler. She had been taken away from her mother because of her drug use and her abuse. And so for basically her whole life, she had been thrown from home to home and faced torture and abuse in each one of these. She faced so much torture that her last foster home she decided to run away from. And when she ran away, she was approached by a pimp named Cutthroat, who took her to a motel and he repeatedly raped, drugged, and abused her. He also forced her to commit sexual acts in exchange for money. So one night, Cyntoia was doing exactly that. She was out under a Sonic pavilion sitting at a table, and she was approached by a man named Johnny Allen, who was 43 at the time, but she was 16. He told her that she shouldn't be living on the streets and that he could take care of her. He told her that she was a good man, that he was a good man, and that he wouldn't do anything to try to harm her. Her believing this and being so susceptible to the influence of males, she decided to go with him. They got in his truck, they waited for a car hop to come. The car hop recognized him because he had been around earlier. Well, been around a lot, and he told her that he was going to take her home and take care of her. So as soon as they arrived at his house, he took out a platoon of guns and told her that he used to be in the Army and that he was a sharpshooter. Hearing this immediately sent her defense mechanisms into high alert. She got afraid of the fact that he might be attempting to do something to her. Prior to this encounter, she had purchased a pistol from a person on the street, and she had it with her when they were together. Later in the evening, after they had been drinking, he got in the bed and he asked her to join him. So yeah, he asked her to join him, and she did exactly that. She got in the bed with him. She told police officers that he whispered pretty disgusting things in her ear. He began touching her, and she just sort of froze. She went to fight or flight. Later, she was asked why she didn't leave, and she said that in times like that, you don't do what you think about after. So all she knew was to freeze. After he had said some really disgusting things to her, he reached over the bed, and she assumed that he was reaching for one of the guns that he had mentioned earlier. She became fearful, and she shot him. After she shot him, she took his guns, his keys, and stole his wallet and got in the car, drove to Walmart. She contacted one of her friends who took her to a motel. And then the day after that, she went right back to Walmart, called the police on his cell phone, and waited in the Walmart parking lot to come get arrested. When she got arrested, they read her her rights and said she had the right to an attorney. Keep in mind, she's only 16. And she waived her right to an attorney. She went into the interview room all alone. During the interview, it's been said that debatably she was coerced into giving some questionable answers based on the questioning of the officers, and all of her answers could be viewed more than one way. So she went to trial. She was tried as an adult at the age of 16, and she was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. In 2012, popular people like Rihanna and Birdman and Kim Kardashian West and Drake all brought attention back to the case with the hashtag Free Cyntoia, and her case was brought back into the spotlight. Many didn't know about the appeal. The case itself was it was a high-profile case, so a lot of people saw it on TV, but the appeal was not viewed a lot until after this. So in her appeal, she asked if they took these factors into consideration. The fact that she suffered from PTSD, which 1 in 4 kids in foster care do, and that she had been left homeless, which is another popular factor among foster kids. 1 in 5 kids end up homeless. And also the fact that she struggled with depression, anxiety, mood disorders, and violent mood swings. While she was in trial, they called her mother, who she had been taken from at the age of 4, and her mother tried to paint a picture of who she was when she was 4, and that was brought into evidence. There was a lot of things that were brought into evidence that could be viewed as forming a prejudice against her based off her previous behaviors from a woman that barely knew her. And because of this, That's why so many people were outraged. I think that her evidence was viewed. I think that her evidence wasn't viewed fairly, and she wasn't given a fair chance. I feel the same way that many feel, that she shouldn't have been given such a strict conviction for what she did. Yeah. So,